The Boston Globe did it again this week, generating national buzz by taking a strong stand in a striking way. The topic this time, gun control in the wake of the Orlando mass shooting.
The image is an AR-15 rifle similar to the weapon used in many mass shootings.
On Thursday, Boston Globe readers picked up their papers and saw this life-size photo of a semi-automatic rifle, along with the exhortation, "Make it stop." An accompanying editorial urged an assault weapons ban. The Globe also accused 6 senators of blocking gun control and offered extra features online to show how destructive guns like the one used in the Orlando shootings can be.
Any trauma surgeon would rather operate on a patient shot with a pistol versus one shot with a rifle.
Back in April, the Globe made waves with a fake front page imagining a Donald Trump presidency. But while that fronted the ideas section, this feature enveloped the entire paper. And even though it was identified as opinion, the Globe as a whole seemed to endorse the message. Throughout the day, Thursday and Friday, the paper's main Twitter account posted the names and ages of people killed by guns, along with the hashtag #MakeItStop. If the goal was to get people talking,
new today, check out the front page of the Boston Globe.
It's fair to say the Globe succeeded. First off, I'm impressed by the Globe's ability to insert itself into the national conversation. You get the impression that people there are really working to get the paper in the national mix, and I think they're succeeding. I am interested in the question of whether the paper as a whole is behind this editorial page point of view or not. I've actually gone back and forth with the paper and its spokespeople trying to get an answer, especially because @Boston Globe was tweeting out this stuff all day, and I have not yet gotten an answer that I find satisfying.
I mean, I used to work for the Globe opinion pages, so I
remember that. I think
I did.
Yeah,
I had no knowledge, no prior knowledge of this coming. I mean, I think you're right. I think they did do a great job of making an impact. I mean, when you're trying to do editorials, you want to be as persuasive as possible, but you also want to have the loudest, strongest, most convincing, most present voice possible. And I also, in contrast to that Donald Trump fake cover, what I think the Globe did right this time on the print part of it was actually labeled an opinion. It was right there, pretty front and center, above the headline, next to the gun. There was no question that this was an opinion section. If there's anywhere that the line was crossed, I think it was in the Twitter feed, which was a great, again, multimedia use of the megaphone. But there's an @Globe Opinion Twitter feed,
right,
and there's an @Boston Globe Twitter feed. Maybe if it had stuck to @Globe Opinion, you wouldn't have that issue.
Yeah, I agree that it seemed a little odd that the tweets were coming from the Globe's main Twitter feed as opposed to the Globe Opinion Twitter feed. I can't say it bothered me terribly, but it just seemed like that was a judgment that they might have handled a little bit differently.
Just to be clear, it didn't keep me up at night or anything. I just saw it and thought, oh, that's
exactly.
interesting.
As a digital-first reader, it's funny, I first noticed the online treatment with the multimedia and the ability to email or tweet at the 6 recalcitrant senators and the way that they had animated data presentations. And I thought that was really striking.
Like in the time you've been reading this article, X number of shots
right,
could have
exactly,
been fired by a
Exactly. It was only later in the morning that I realized that they had done a 4-page wraparound around the paper as well. As somebody who thought that the Trump front page was okay, but there were some issues with it, I agree with Joanna. I think this was handled better. It's labeled opinion. I don't think anybody was confused. Kudos to the Globe.
No, I have to agree. And I particularly think the online treatment was outstanding. The way that it loaded so that it was almost anticipatory, da-da, 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 and some of the data, and then boom on some of the other. It was really quite powerful. A piece I'd like to read from them, and maybe they'll do it, is how long did it take to put it together, and had they had this ready, knowing that this was going to happen, and then they would be able to respond in this way.
You mean knowing that the Orlando shootings were going to happen?
Not the Orlando shootings would happen, but some shooting like this was probably going to happen, and they were going to want to respond in a very definitive way. Or if they, in fact, decided in the moment, here we all hands on deck, and we're going to figure this out, because that's an amazing amount of work in a very short period. Either way, great story. Love to know the background on it. I thought they did an excellent job. With regard to where the tweet should come from, I have to say I think it should have come from @Boston Globe Opinion. And then nobody has anything to say as far as I'm concerned, you know.
Yeah, I thought it was a great idea, well executed, good content. The editorial that they wrote noted that the government restricts the number of bullets you can buy for a gun used to shoot ducks, but not for guns used to shoot humans. An excellent little bit of detail there. And, you know, this is exactly what news organizations with an editorial voice should do with their editorial voice. Step up and take on a topical cause, take it on aggressively, showcase it. I love when news organizations go on crusades. I started out in talk radio in this city back in the 1980s when that was a common thing. Remember Jerry Williams with the repeal of the seatbelt law? You know, for better or worse, whether you agree with the politics here, again, it's robust, it's lively, and this is what newspapers need to do in order to survive. If they were on the ball over at the Herald, maybe they would have responded with an anti-gun ban special package, and we could have had a little good old-fashioned newspaper war and a healthy debate over the topic.
You know, one critique I've seen of it was that, you know, it wasn't going to persuade anybody. Is this going to change anybody's mind? To that, I would say, you know, there are two things you can do with an opinion piece like that. You can try to persuade, and I think they did try to be as persuasive as possible. You can also kind of rally the base, and that's that was part of the purpose. Is let's put some pressure. Let's get the people who do agree with us to get really ginned up and excited, and put some pressure on these lawmakers and put some pressure on Congress. And I think they teed that up very nicely.
One more thing I'd really like to add is that the metaphors, because you just mentioned that, the comparisons were so on the ground that you could understand. They, you know, how many McDonald's versus how many, I mean, it was right there. There was a lot of dense material there, and they made it readable and accessible.
I just wanted to respond to Joanna. I think that with highly charged issues on which everybody already has an opinion, you don't change anybody's mind. It's virtually impossible. But I think at a moment like this, it's important to take a moral and ethical stand, and that's what the Globe did.
You've got a voice, use it or lose it.